If you're thinking about fishing this weekend, then Saturday looks like the best day. Our saltwater guides say that the trout fishing is really good, and our freshwater guides continue to report the deep water pattern is really good. So no matter what you're doing, don't move a muscle because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Captain Rick and Brie Gabrielle, hoping everyone had a safe Memorial Day weekend. Rick, we are moving closer to summertime feels as we report during this first week of June, and you must be feeling a little bit older and maybe a little bit wiser.
Well, I don't know about wiser, but I can tell you I'm starting to feel a little older for sure, Brie.
All right, well, let's see what is happening over at the workbench with Dave Farrell this week. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I got a whole lot of cool stuff. We're going to be talking about slip floats and bobber stops and weight stops. I thought we'd start talking about that because I didn't know nothing about it and I got into it hard.
Well, we can't wait to learn more on that.
Cork Management 101.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. That's the title of the segment. All right, we're starting this first weekend of June out in the GARMIN Middle Coast region where Captain Bink Grimes is definitely enjoying all that it has to offer. Go for it, Bink.
Yeah, we're happy June's arrived with these lighter winds, and we're getting into that summer fishing pattern. East Matagorda Bay turned on this week. Lots of big trout were caught and released while waiting and drifting. We hadn't been able to really fish East Bay a whole lot this year because of the high winds, but man, the wind's calm, the water's green, and I had trout to 8 pounds this week. We released several fish 28, 29 inches, so that's very, very encouraging. The sand and grass potholes around Rockport are holding trout on the incoming tide. The boaters are working outside of Trader Island and tossing those Berkeley topwaters along St. Joe Island as well. Incoming tides have brought slicks across Mud Island and Super Flats where waders are throwing mirror soft dines and topwaters for solid trout. High tides near Freeport's been good for anglers working reefs on live shrimp under a cork. Got Mike Siegel. He's found good numbers of trout on large table shrimp around the jetties as well. In Port O'Connor, Lynn Smith said he's hammered trout on chicken on the chain bass assassins. Most of those trout have been in the 19 to 20 inch class. He said good old red and white paddle tails have worked well for bass assassins as well. I did the same thing down there this past week through chicken on a chain and through Mama's Chicken bass assassins and did really, really well. Good trout's been found on the sand and grass flats around Pascaval on the incoming tide. A lot of trout over 20 inches being caught and released. Those emerald green waters, man, it's just beautiful down there right now as all that Gulf water is coming through the pass. It's worth noting that we're seeing a better quality of trout being caught since the minimum size limit along the middle coast was raised from 15 to 17 inches in March. It's very encouraging how our fishery is rebounding from that freeze of 2021. And it's also just a breath of fresh air to see the attitudes changing for anglers. It's more of a catch and release pattern for trout. There's a photo there, one of the big trout we caught last week. Those green tides in East Matagorda Bay, man, I mean, you got a shot at a trout of a lifetime, and we did it a couple of times last week. Redfish, I tell you, guide Tom Brown, pattern for redfish has been tough to follow. Basically, he's waiting on the fish to show up with the tide. Same's happening with Brett Sweeney. He's posted up on sand and grass flats and waiting for the reds to come to him. He's waiting for those tides to usher in wads of small minnows in about 1 to 2 foot of water. Best spots in Matagorda has been Oyster Lake, Crab Lake, Twin Islands, and Shell Island. Then at Port O, Wade and Pringle Lake with gold spoons and small topwaters paid off for reds. Then you drift those back lakes with on live shrimp and gold spoons. It's been a better afternoon bite as that tide comes in, and that's kind of that whole back lake game is driven by those high tides. There's a lot of southeast wind this week that's pumping up tides, along with that low pressure in the Gulf. It's really got our tides up. As always, the jetties from Freeport to Port Aransas hold really good numbers of redfish, and there's a lot of oversized bull reds right there at the top tip of the rock. Offshore, our red snapper opened up June the 1st, and I tell you, the weekend forecast looks good for a lot for the offshore anglers. I think we're scheduled for 1 to 2 foot seas, which I mean it's going to have a lot of folks out there. Federal red snapper season opened June 1st, and and Guide Michael Quebec has said that they're there. There's red snapper 15, 16 pounds around the rigs, and then he's also getting those a lot of big kingfish, by trolling river fish, and also a lot of ling action around the wells. Water temperatures were running at about 80 to 84 degrees. Just depends on if we get cloud cover or not. I tell you, it's been a good week, encouraging week in the GARMIN Middle Coast region. June's really one of my favorite times of the year to fish. It's just a lot of good opportunities out there. We're asking you to please continue to practice good catch and release and good stewardship of our fishery, and just treat our fishery like you treat your house, like your own backyard, and things will change for you.
All right, I appreciate you leading the charge for saving all those fish on the flats there, Bink. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Bink says that the trout are good while wading sand and grass, and Port O'Connor with bass assassins and mirror lures. The redfish are good on mullet, worked over the flats on the incoming tide, Bree.
Everyone's going to be coastal bound this weekend. Sounds like a good time. All right, next we're taking a look into the STARTRON Middle Fresh region and seeing what Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn is providing us with. Matt Loescher. Go for it, Matt.
All right, Bree. So I'm going to kick it off with the largemouth bass this week. I ran out of time last week, and I wasn't able to talk about the Sealy Big Bass Splash that was held on Toledo Bend recently. That tournament, the anglers faced some really tough windy conditions and even big rain on the Sunday of the event, but they toughed it out and caught a lot of great fish as predicted anyway, and the results were truly impressive considering what they had to deal with. It took around a 4-pound fish to get a check for most of the hours, all 3 days. There were a few hours where a 3-pounder snuck in there, but for the really terrible weather they dealt with, the results were strong. The overall winner was Jackson Cooper with a 10.4-pound Toledo Bend Giant. So I want to say congrats, Jackson. That's a great, big, beautiful fish, man. Good job on taking it home. Keep them coming. Now, for how they're catching these fish, there's still a mixture of the deep and the shallow fishing happening. I kind of feel like a broken record here lately, but hey, it's awesome that the fish have held on the same pattern for about a month now. It just basically keeps on going. We've had a lot of this up and down lake level, and so it's keeping that shallow pattern going every time we get a big rain. Now, granted, any given day, one pattern might outproduce the other, especially when considering the size of the fish caught. Most of these bigger ones are being caught in 10 foot or more. Now, I've heard of some reports, people catching fish as deep as 26 foot this week, and big worms and crankbaits are where it's at out there. But if you're a diehard shallow guy, there is still, some good fish being caught up shallow. And sometimes, the wind's been blowing a lot lately. You can't really get out there on the main lake on some of those deep schools of fish, so you kind of have to get up in the creeks and hide by the banks. So you can do it. The key on the shallow bite is to just fish the conditions and fish your strength. If you're up shallow, there's a lot of different baits working. I'm hearing a lot of different things from different guys about how they're catching them. So basically, it's just fishing the weather pattern that day. For example, if you got a windy, cloudy day, you might try a spinnerbait. They're catching like that. If you got a calm day, a topwater bait is good, like a frog or a walking bait. And then if it's slick, calm, sunny, hot skies, you might go with a pitching bait. Take that skunk ape and pitch it around the cypress trees and the grass. Just fish the conditions, and you'll be successful. Keep out there, just keep chugging away until you find them, because they're going to be in little key stretches. Now, moving over to Sam Rayburn. The water level over there is holding a little bit steadier. It's about a foot below pool level, and there has been a really slow drop in that water level lately. It's coming down a little bit from some power generation through the dam, and there's not any big rain in the forecast this week, so I'm betting that slow drop is going to continue through the weekend. I'm still hearing that there's a deep shallow shuffle going on over there as well, and seeing that the water level's fairly steady, it's not dropping too fast, I'm going to bet that shallow bite's going to hang on through the weekend. So y'all can still pick your poison. If you're, a shallow guy, white frog is going to be a go-to at Rayburn. I've heard there's also some schooling activity in the shallower stained water, kind of in those upper reaches of the lake where the water's got some color to it. They're catching them with white spinnerbait. Then out on the main lake, kind of down the lake where there's a little cleaner water, the offshore bite's happening. Go to the points and the ledges with the most bait fish. Carolina rigs and crankbaits are where it's at. Natural colors are working good on those baits. Whether you're deep or shallow, big ones being caught. In a tournament last weekend, there was 2 bags over 30 pounds weighed in at Rayburn. There was a 32-pound bag by my good buddy Marshall Hughes and Cole Stewart, and then a 36-pound bag weighed by Lane Peavy and Jody Ray. So congrats to all those guys. That's some incredible weight for this time of the year. And I got a photo there for you of Marshall and Cole's bag. They had the 32 pounds. Y'all check out Rusty's team tournament. He runs a great show. He's also got a benefit event coming up in September that I'll talk about more in the future when we get closer. Now, switching over to the crappie real quick, I'm going to kind of lump them all together for sake of time. All over the Middle Fresh region, I'm hearing the same thing. 15 to 30 foot of water. Minnows and the panfish assassin jig are catching them. Y'all go out there and get them.
Hey, Matt, I got to ask you one thing. You know, you guys are been catching lots of crappies. What do you like to, what do you think's a fair assessment? I know what the limit is, but what do you think's the right amount of crappie to take home?
Oh, man. That's, I guess it kind of varies a little bit lake to lake. Personally, I can go out there and get a half a dozen for the wife and I and have a great meal. It doesn't take a whole lot of them. So, protect our fisheries. Take what you need and leave the rest alone, There's no need to get out there and just beat on them just for the sake of putting them in the freezer so they can go bad later.
Yeah.
Preserve our fisheries and, they'll be there for generations to come.
That's good advice, but 4 guys that got 25 per guy limit. They don't need 100 crappies.
No.
All right, let's keep working on that, guys. I heard Bink, and I wanted to ask you what you feel in freshwater. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Middle Fresh region. He says big bass are being caught on Deleta Bend and Sam Rayburn 10 to 20 feet. The numbers of smaller fish on the shallower flats is going to be there, and then the crappies are stacking up 15 to 30 around the standing timber and the bridge pylons.
I know, it just kills me when you see fresh fish go freezer fish.
Yeah, because they get freezer burn and everybody throws them out.
Yeah, I know, exactly. All right, well, the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is swimming at us next, but first we're making our way over to the workbench for rigs and techniques with Dave Farrells. You've got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if I can get through
You always do. What do you mean?
We're going to talk a little bit about all kinds of rigs, how to use these little bobber stoppers to make all kinds of cool stuff.
Bubba Stopper.
Little tips.
We'll be back with
Brie
the
likes
Bubba
old-
Stopper.
Brie likes old Bobba Stopper.
I do.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio Sunglasses. Blue light blocking. Radically clear lenses. Garmin. Plot your paradise. Fibertex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, Dave, it's time for the rigs and techniques here at the workbench, so why don't we just get right into...
Well, we're talking a little bit about using sinker and bobber stops to do other things other than just stopping a bobber going up and down. But we're going to talk a little bit about that too, because it's pretty awesome. First off, we're going to show you what they are. These are what we're talking about. These little rubber bobber stoppers, and what you do is you put your line through one of those little wire loops there.
Right.
And when you put your line through that wire loop, you can go ahead and grab a hold of that little stopper.
Right.
Fold your line back over.
Right.
Like that. And then you grab that stopper and you just pull it, and it'll come all the way on, and it comes past the tag, and now you've got that little stopper on your line.
Wow.
And the point of these things are, it's a little stop that it doesn't harm your line at all, and it can still move back and forth.
Yeah, so it stops your lead weights.
A lead weight, a bobber. You can put a bead with it and stop a bobber. And I've always fished with bobbers and stuff, and it's like, when they're 3 feet deep or more, you can't really cast, because you've got the bobber, then you've got 3 feet of leader, then you've got a little fish and you're going to try to cast that, if it's longer than 3 feet, you can't do it.
Right.
You know, unless you've got a 12-foot rod and you're just,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to do something else, you know, you're going to need something like that little stopper on the line. And they make all different kinds. They make kinds like this where you weave it back and forth through a little piece of plastic 4 times, and then they have little tubes with line on them, just a piece of cotton, and you just pull it off the tube, pull the cotton off the tube like that, and then you just grab
so
a hold
it's
of
like a
it's just like a little
nail knot.
Yeah,
Nail
exactly,
knot.
exactly, like a nail knot. And then you trim that off, and that slides back and forth on your line.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they make all different kinds of them. This was the very first one I found, was the Carolina Keeper, and I thought, oh, this is a great stop, but it's just a little hard to use. You have to pinch it really hard and then pass the line through it while you're pinching it. It's not nearly as easy as the little wire and the bead through there.
Yeah.
But that's how I first came about them. And luckily, you know, that Carolina thing, I figured you can do a Carolina rig with those little stops too.
Oh, yeah.
This is a punch rig. You know, if you're wanting to pin a weight to like you're punching through some hydrilla or whatever, and you realize you don't have enough weight or you don't have a jig big enough, you can go ahead and put your little stopper on there, then put you a nice whatever half ounce,
Push it
quarter
down
ounce.
against there. And
Yep, and it ain't going anywhere, and
Nice.
that'll punch right through any kind of vegetation. It's a lot less likely to get fouled up than if your weight's sliding up and down as it's trying to get through that hydrilla or whatnot. You don't want that. Then you got this is just a plain old Texas rig, you know, a Texas rig, and you know, when I first started, we'd peg the weight with a piece of freaking toothpick or something.
Me too.
But you don't need that anymore. You got these little cool little things, and you can slide them on, and you can put that weight wherever you want as far as a Texas rig. But then you can also put 2 on there, like I did for this. You just put 1 on, then put the weight on, then put another little stopper on there, and you've got a Carolina rig.
Right.
So you can put that wherever
I wonder
you want.
if we could do this with our Jupiter rig and the lead.
Yes.
You know how we use swivels?
Correct.
Wonder if we could do it with that.
I know you could. You could fish in an inlet with that kind of thing, use a big bait, a big croaker, catch a big redfish,
Jetties.
a trout, whatever.
Yeah.
Next, last but not least, we've got, this is how these things are normally used. You know, you've got the stopper way up here. The stopper will go all the way through your guides and whatnot. So if you want to fish in 15 or 20 feet of water with a bobber, this bobber will slide all the way up until it hits that.
And so now...
And you can make a cast, because when you're making a cast, you've only got this much.
Right. The cork, you can reel up to the tip of the rod, and
Correct.
you're only casting this much.
You're casting that much.
And then when this hits the water, guys, look what happens here. It just falls down
the way
until
to
it
the
gets
stop.
to the stopper. And so now you can decide whether you want to fish in 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet.
Correct.
Dave.
Isn't that cool?
I'm blown away over here. That was some rigging and techniquing, if I had to say so. That was great. Learn
I'm
new
going to go
things.
over, you're talking about pinching. I'm going to go over and pinch Brie during the commercial
Well, you're going
break.
to get in trouble. if you do
Why?
that.
Just because, she's got those kids and they're not mean enough to her yet.
Right. They are. All right, let's see what inshore and offshore species the Fish Bites Upper Coast region has for us this week with Captain Carl Weston. Go for it, Carl.
Hey guys, we're talking about flounder this week, and over far east in Sabine Lake, the water temp is up. It's 82 degrees. Salinity is bumping up as well. So the points at the end of the channels are holding nice fish. The early morning bite has been about the best. Fishing the incoming tide along the jetties with scented soft plastic on about a 1/4 ounce jig head has been the top artificial choice of the week. Now over in Seawolf Park, there have been some nice flounder along the rocks and pylons. They've been throwing a small finger mold or live croaker on a Texas rig. Like they were just talking about, some smaller fish are being caught in the open bays and around the edges of the oyster reefs and in those calm backwaters along the grass. The 3-inch Fish Bites Flight Club shrimp flavor in white was our top producer as well on these flounder. Going to our picture today, Miss Betty with a nice flounder. Okay, bumping on to trout. The trout bite has really been good the upper coast. Okay, the areas that are holding bait have some great fish and are just waiting for you to get out there and catch one. Once again, starting up the Sabine Lake along the jetties and along the rocks, they're really nice sized trout. The oyster reefs in East and West Galveston Bay have been on point as well. Hit those waters in your early morning, guys. In the last few hours of sunset, you can throw top water, shrimp, croaker on a popping cork. The fish are there and they're biting the channel edges. Right there, right now where the water is a little cleaner, it's pushed in from the Gulf. There's lots of bait. The fish are schooling around the bait. The birds are showing us right where to go. Topwater's been a lot of fun in these areas. Still a fan favorite. That old Berkeley Choppa 90 in bone color has been seriously hard to beat. So a possible issue in this clean water might be the fish get a little leader shy, and if this happens, just tie you about a 2-foot piece of fluorocarbon. I use a 20-pound diamond between your main line and your bait. It'll increase your hookup ratio big time. Our photo today is Mr. Ortega with a big trout.
Whoa!
So,
Wow. That is a big one.
So let's go offshore.
Okay.
Talking about towelfish again. We've been deep dropping for this fish, and it's become very popular here in the Texas Gulf. There's a lot of winding up and dropping back and forth at the bottom in very deep water, but you know the reward is great. Towelfish are great to eat; they're fun to catch. Starting with our rig, we'll go right back to R&R. Makes a great deep drop rig. You have glow skirts, hook size, and just about any option you need to fit your fish. So let's talk about weights real quick. Depending on the current and the water depth, I started about 2 to 3 pounds. Bait can vary from cut squid and say cut bait fish. Now you want to ensure that your bait is directly on the bottom, guys, and I mean laying flat. This is key. In strong current situations, you may want to add an additional weight to the top of your leader to make sure it lays flat. And don't be hasty to reel up either. You get one bite, let them bump, get a second, get a third, then come on up. You'll get 2 or 3 fish. And as we've touched on in the past, we're tipping our rigs with FISHBITES, and we're really upping our ratio drastically. Rick, we got a picture today with Liam and his buddy with bringing some towelfish up on a nice pen rod and reel in the background there.
Nice, very nice. All right, what else you got for us, Carl?
Well, wahoo has been consistent all year for us, folks. These beautiful fish just keep our reel screaming. Definitely a favorite of ours. Wahoo's been around for a few months now, and the size has dropped off a little bit, but they're still worth targeting. You know, wahoo, one of the most fun fish to catch. Great dinner option. Smoked wahoo dip is a tripped out favorite. Hitting the rock piles and deep water reefs in 300 to 600 feet, guys, has been our target area. We're still fast trolling deep divers, skirtry with ballyhoo, and it's really getting the job done. R&R and Diamond make a great wind-on shock leader that's a must for this type of trolling. Remember to take a look at your serious weather and fish mapping for weed lines, temperature breaks before you head out this weekend. And we have a picture today of a good buddy of ours, Danny, with a nice little wahoo.
Hey, man, thank you so much for all the pictures. We appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Upper Coast region. Carl says, inshore, fish the edges of the oyster reefs while throwing 3-inch FISHBITES Fight Club shrimp flavor, white in color, or for the flounders. And then offshore, deep dropping with R&R tackle deep drop rigs in 1,000-foot range with cut bait and FISHBITE chunks targeting golden tilefish.
That sounds fun.
Yum.
All right, coming up next on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, we're looking into our upper and lower fresh region reports, so stay hooked, and we'll be back on a lake near you. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with our reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll be back in just a sec.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Island Lures, Tournament Tackle. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Shallow Sport, Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
Hey guys, Captain Ryan Rickard here, and we're here to talk about a couple of the things that I really love about this boat that helped me to get this done. And what is this? This is the Bassmasters Redfish Cup that was just done this past November out of Port Aransas, Texas, and this is the exact boat that I was using to help to get that done. I want to just mention a few things that I really love about this boat that's super, super special that helped me to get it done. First of all, this boat is so buoyant. I love the draftability of this boat, the displacement of water that it puts off to be able to draft very shallow water, to get in those areas where you have to get to catch those tournament winning redfish sometime. Even though it's a bay boat, it still gets it done. The draftability is key. Second of all is the dry ride of this boat. So again, the displacement of water it puts off as you're running, when it's really rough, it's nice to stay dry instead of having a bunch of wet water coming in on you. That was another thing. One of the other really key components to this boat as well is everything in here is all sealed. So there's no rattling compartments. Very solid boat. So as you're running and hitting waves, you don't have to worry about rattles. You don't have to worry about cracks. This is a very solid built boat. I'm going to walk towards the back of this as well, because one thing that Skeeter absolutely has the patent on is aviation grade aluminum, and it's tied in from our stringers to our transom, so there's no worry about any cracks or separation or delamination, no matter how rough it gets. That's just some of the little keys that I got in regards to having things that helped me to get it done in the Bassmasters Redfish Cup. I was so happy to run this boat. Go out and look at these boats and get you one.
You know, Brie, Ryan had 17 second place finishes and never had any major redfish title before the Redfish Cup. He wins last year.
Wow, that's awesome.
And to have it on national TV, awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, speaking of Skeeter, the 28th annual Skeeter Owners Tournament at Lake Fork is coming up June 9th through the 12th. Thousands of Skeeter owners travel to celebrate the world's first bass and fish for their chance to win up to $200,000 in cash and prizes. Go to skeeterboats.com to register and to get more information. All right, listen up. Upper Fresh Regioners, Lake Fork, Texoma, Tawakoni, Athens, Ray Roberts, and Levon has everything you'll need for a weekend full of fun. So let's hear what Mike McFarland has to say. Go for it, Mike.
Hey guys, how are you? Good to be here. So let's talk about Fork first. The largemouth bass on Fork are really good. Water temperatures are ranging from 74 to 80 degrees. The lake level is 397.40 above sea level, which is about 5.5 feet below full pool and pretty stable. The recent cool trend last week kind of slowed things down just a little bit, but it's Lake Fork, so get your topwaters out. The early morning topwater bite is still there. A little hit and miss on a daily basis, but it's still there. The best locations are shallow reefs, flats near deep water. Walking style baits are really my preferred favorites, but you might try a popper on some of the days when there's a little or no wind, which these days it seems like that's unrealistic. There's always wind. But anyways, look for the blue herons, the white egret birds. They'll really give you a good location. Once the sun gets up, switch to deep diving crankbaits, jigs, big worms, and even that bite's been a little slow. So I recommend that you fish later into the afternoon and evening. Fishing about 8 to 16 feet of water. The long points, the humps, the ridges, the tree lines next to roads or pond dams, and even the shell beds are still the great places to be searching. Once the warm weather does come back and the water temperature gets to 80 degrees, which should be in time for the Skeeter event, I really expect the offshore bite to pick up very well like it was. Remember that if you're coming to Lake Fork, the lake is very low and there's a lot of stumps. So really proceed with extreme caution. Only run your boat in the designated, safely marked buoy lanes only, okay? Here are a few really, really awesome picks of some 5 to 7 pound bass that we call Lake Fork specials. Very common for us to catch.
Nice. They really look good there, bub.
Texoma, man, I'm telling you, if you like smallmouth, Texoma is on fire. The smallmouth bass fishing right now couldn't be any better. Recent catches for many anglers are 50 fish a day, and that's per angler. The smallmouth bass are eating the shallow crankbaits and jigs in crawfish colors in the rocks, the northern end of the lake. The largemouth bass are also being caught in the northern end of the lake with small crankbaits as well. Underspins tipped with boot, tail swim baits in shad color combinations also working for the largemouth. The recent cool trend there has brought another round of shad spawn. So again, just look for the birds and you're definitely in the right area there. How about Tawakoni? I love Tawakoni. It's got a lot of vegetation. Bass fishing continues to be good in the shallow backwaters around that vegetation. The frogs fished all day long around the edges of lily pads and through the grasses and vegetation. They're working well. The best colors are black and or bullfrog. You can also use jigs and soft plastics under the docks, and as that sun's shining, you may want to fish some of them rock piles. Those bass like to hide in the rocks. Lake Athens with Guy J. Bonner. He says the water temperature is 74 to 83. Underspins with small swim baits, white colors, and frogs also working good around the lily pads and grass there. Texas rigs and sea rigs on the outside grass lines and brim beds. Use your side scan imaging to find those brim beds, okay? And you can also try some of the humps and breaks in 10 to 18 feet of water. Be real careful there. The water's warm and there's a lot of ski activity going on, so just proceed with caution. Let's do some crappie. Jackie Wiggins, crappie guide on Fork, he says that crappie couldn't be any better. He's catching them. They're done spawning. It's about 12 to 25 feet of water. They're grouping up on the brush piles, laydowns, and even certain trees. Most of them are definitely post-spawn and hungry. Minnows are your best bite. Hand-tied jigs also working for the finicky black ones, and then some soft plastics for the white ones. Let's go ahead and do crappie on Lake Lavon, 1 to 18 foot. Most fish are being found in about 14 feet of water. Same kind of deal, brush pile, standing timber, 16th ounce jigs, 8th ounce jigs with minnows. I'd like to go ahead and do a little hybrid for you, but it's not the best. Hybrids and white bass are hard to find due to the wind, but just early and late, look for the birds. Some of them are running shallow on points, 18 to 20 feet over humps, big slab spoons, slow rolled swim baits. That's kind of the gist of the striper bite.
All right, you done there, bud?
Well, we could roll some catfish. Let's just give you one on Fork. Fork's really cool if you got time. Pre-bait yourself a hole in a creek swing, 18 to 22 feet. Pre-bait it with the cattle cubes from a feed store. I'm telling you, you will catch 50 to 100 fish the next day within an hour. Prepared catfish bait, stink baits, even night crawlers gets done really well.
All right, well, that's about wraps it up. Very good this week, Mike. Thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. Mike says that this week the hot spots are most definitely Lake Tawakoni, where the smallmouth bass fishing is on fire. The other thing that you want to make sure you do is fish in the north end of the lakes, and many fishermen are reporting catches in excess of 50 a day, and most of the fish are being caught in shallow crankbaits and jigs in green, pumpkin, and crawfish colors. The average size is between 1 and 2 pounds, with an occasional bigger fish mixed in.
Wow. All right, well, the Lower Fresh region is always kicking some major bass, so let's find out what Matt Reed has for us on Lake Falcon, Choke Canyon, Lake Travis, Decker, and LBJ. Go for it, Matt.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. I'm going to start off with my baby down at Lake Falcon. The largemouth bass fishing has still been really good. We did get fortunate to manage to catch about 3 feet of much-needed water last week. The bass did not move. They're still positioned on the same rock. It's just a little bit deeper. Best bite is on a 3/8 ounce stand-up head with a 7 or 8 inch straight tail worm. That's how I've been catching most of them. Also, you catch a bunch of fish on a deep diving crankbait in that 12 to 15 foot water where those fish are sitting. Lots of big bass. We've caught a ton of big ones lately. Mike Bates sent me a report from Choke Canyon. Fish are still cooperating there because of the high wind and the storms. All of the lake is off color now. We've had a ton of wind inside Texas. The early morning bite is still good along the edges of the hydrilla. Lipless crankbaits, spinnerbaits, and chatterbaits are the best for that in that first hour of the day. After that, you want to move on out to the offshore humps and breaks. Carolina rigs, Texas rigs, and deep diving crankbaits are your best bet. Numbers have decreased a little bit for him, but the size is still really good. Brian Cotter sent me some reports from lakes around the Austin area. Lake Travis is fishing great, he says. He's catching lots of fish on top waters around the marinas early. They're schooling there, and around the points throughout the day. Shaky heads are catching them very well on the main lake points and ledges in that 10 to 20 foot of water. Watermelon colors of your straight tail worms seem to be best. Lake Decker is also fishing well. Fish can be found offshore around the deeper grass and brush piles. Really use your electronics to look around with your side scan to find those brush piles and get them pinpointed so you can make casts in the right location. There's also some fish, working down the grass edges or the reeds, throwing shallow crankbaits or Texas rigs. Lake LBJ is producing well. Plenty of good fish shallow early in the morning around the lily pads, throwing frogs and flukes. Later in the day, you need to pull out deeper on the rock piles in that 10 to 25 foot range. Throw shaky heads, Texas rigs, and jigs. Watermelon colors are best there also. Got me 2 pictures of some bass from Lake Falcon last week. That's Stacy with a great big one, and RJ and Bill with another giant. Always love those father-son trips no matter what age they are.
All right, Matt, tell us about the catfish, and then Brie is going to tell you what my typical reaction is to your pictures.
I love my pictures, by the way.
We do too. I think everybody does.
Let's talk a little catfish. Ram Reyes sent me a report down there at Falcon for the catfish, and they are loving this new rise in water with a little current coming down the river. The bigger catfish are being caught on fresh cut shad, tilapia, and carp. You want to concentrate your efforts in that 5 to 10 foot range on the hard edges along the river channel. You really need to get in the edge of that current, and there's tons of them really active right now, biting extremely well. That's just a picture Ram sent from one of his recent trips down there. There's so many big old blue cat in Lake Falcon. It's the food supply makes them, it just grows them big. Heck, it grows most things big down there.
Well, Rick has just shaken his head at all of your photos every single week and just looks down and takes a big sigh because he wants one of them.
Matt, there's going to be payback when I take you to Las Brisas Ranch and that big one walks out and I just shake my head at you, bub. It's going to be the
that
same.
wouldn't be anything abnormal. That's the way those big deer things work.
Big deer things.
All right, bud, thank you so much. Great report. I appreciate all your hard work each and every week. We're going to go and take a look at the Fiber Tech Lower Fresh Hotspots, Lake Travis. Great fishing going on. They're catching lots of fish on top waters around the marinas early and around the points throughout the day. Shaky heads are catching a lot, as well as working the main lake points and ledges in 10 to 20 feet of water. Watermelon colors seem to be the best right now.
It takes a lot for you not to comment on something, so when you just shake your head,
It's just
it really
every
means it's
week there's a
heartfelt.
double-digit fish coming out of his reports.
I know, it's great. It's wonderful. All right, our last region is showing off in the lower coast region, but next, Dave has a little showing off to do himself at the workbench for new products. Dave, what do we got? Father's Day's coming up.
We've got the Speed Demon, the Revo Rocket from Abu Garcia. 7-to-1 wood gear ratio. Thing's smoking.
Smoking. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Fenwick, feel everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. And STARTRON, start, run, and store with STARTRON.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about the many different ways that you can mount your power pole. Now, I often get asked, hey, Captain Rick, how do we install this? Well, it's real simple, guys. All makes and models come with a standard bracket. It's designed to drill 4 holes in the transom, and then you through bolt the power pole through the transom itself. Now, we also have a variety of different brackets that are designed for different applications. This particular one is called the adapter plate for jack plates. Now, I like this because, one, it angles out my power poles like this. Plus, I also have the ability during the installation to have adjustments up and down, as well as adjust the tips in and out. The other thing that's very, very common is the engine mount. That simply uses the bolts from the engine, and then we have these wings that come off just like you see here, giving you a great angle like you have with the jack plate adapter. Now, the other thing that we also use is the deck mount for those guys that have pontoons. So that actually bolts to the top. So keep in mind there's many different ways to mount your power pole, and that's today's Power Pole tip of the week. Well, it's time for the Taco Trolling the Edge new product segment here at the
That's what it
Workbench.
is.
And you know what? Let's just get right
We're going
at
to start with AFCO. I'm actually modeling the shirt we're going to be talking about. So
You want to start with the shirt or the hat?
Let's start with a hat. We'll
Okay.
do the Dockline Boonie hat. It's 100% nylon. You know, nice coverage. I like to wear hats all the time when I'm fishing. Keep everything covered up. You can actually fold up the sides like Rick has done there. It's made for a small head. I think your head's a lot bigger than mine.
Small head?
Yeah, but I think that one's Yeah, it's a small.
I don't know if I like this like this.
Yeah,
I think I would
coming
rather have
down.
it like
Exactly.
this.
It's got a lockable strap on it, 100% nylon, like I said, very lightweight, and it's got a fold-away in the back of it. If you take that hat back off now,
Yeah.
there's a
Fold
nice
away in the back.
fold-away neck nate back there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you fold it. Yeah, it comes up underneath there. It folds all the way out.
I don't see that, Dave.
Yeah, there is one in there.
Oh, this.
Yeah,
Up here.
yeah,
Up here. Up
yes.
here. Okay, up here.
There you go. And that folds back down over your neck. So, you know, I burnt my neck real bad the other day. That's crazy.
So,
Yeah.
redneck. Okay.
Exactly. It comes down.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And I kind of like that kind of style hat. I spent a lot of time in Australia, so
You know,
I like the boonie hats.
if you went fishing with Brie, because she's such a supermodel, she'd make me wear it like this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, up
Larry
like that.
Storch, F
Yeah.
Troop.
Yeah.
Man.
Like Gilligan on
Not many
Gilligan's
people-
Island.
Not many people will know that. But anyway, next we're going to talk a little bit about the Apex Stretch shirt. This is the shirt that I'm wearing. It's a button-down shirt. Comes in 5 different colors and 5 sizes from small to 2XL. It's got the 4-way stretch fabric in it. You know, but with performance features. It's made with polyester and elasticine blend, so like I said, it'll stretch every which way. Ultralight fabric with a built-in microfiber lens cleaner for your computer, or for your glasses or your phone. It's got nice vents on the back, so you can get some air in there. Little vents in the back. Just a really, really nice shirt. I like it. It comes with a Teflon fabric protection as well. This shirt is worn to this show, and I wore it home and ate in it, and it's amazing that it's not covered. Yeah, it hasn't been ironed. I just took it straight out of the dryer and put it on a hanger, and that's what it looks like. Yeah. I mean, just really cool things. Go to afco.com and get you one of those.
All right. What else we got, Dave?
Next, we got the Starbright Snap and Zipper lubricant. You know, it's one of the biggest pains in the butt about having a boat is the snaps and the zippers for your isinglass and your bow dodgers and everything.
And your foul weather gear.
Foul weather gear, your backpacks, now the coolers we have with the waterproof zippers on them.
Yep.
You know, they're kind of hard anyway to work, but if you don't take care of them, they can get really hard to work. You end up breaking off the thing in your hand, you know, the handle. But with the Snap and Zipper lubricant, it keeps them running smooth forever. You just dab a little on there and run the zipper back and forth, or you squirt a little into each one of your snaps, and it keeps them working. You know, you don't get that corrosion built up in there and make the zipper or the snap stop working, which is what we're trying to do with this thing, you know. And it will fix an old zipper if you got an old zipper that's messed up.
Wetsuits, PFD storage, foul weather gear, T-top pouches, day packs, life jackets. There's
everything
30
with a zipper.
Everything, 30 things on the back.
Everything with a zipper, it'll help. Go to starbright.com.
Good job, guys.
Next, last but not least, we got the Abu Garcia, the Revo Rocket, that little spinning reel I had on there a minute ago. This is the 20. Blazing fast, retrieve 7-to-1 gear ratio, 37 inches of line per turn. So if you're using a swim jig or a chatterbait or something that you like to keep moving pretty quickly, it's a great reel for that. It has 11 pounds of drag, got a carbon fiber rotor and a rocket lip design spool to make longer casts. It's got a flat EVA knob so you can stay in contact. Machined aluminum, braided ready spool. That's got little lines in the spool so that you don't have to worry about your spool slipping around when you put braid on it.
I'm going to have to investigate what size they come up to, because it matches my red black shoe. Oh, that's enough, Dave. Don't break something.
I got him. I own him.
Don't break something. But I think it'll match my shoes. What do you think, Brie?
You're just in love with the color red. That's what I know.
Abu Garcia.
That's what I know.
AbuGarcia.com?
Yep.
There you go. All right, the Lower Coast region is looking pretty fun this weekend, so let's check in with Captain Chad Kinney to see what he's sending us out into. Go for it, Chad.
The weather's looking great this weekend, and everything started to break loose in the good way. We got some warmer weather, offshore is really firing up, and the trout bite's really hitting it. So we're going to talk about the inshore first. The trout bite has been just phenomenal. It's just really started peaking out here at Port Mansfield. We've been fishing a bunch, and everybody's having a lot of success. There's the slot size right now down here, it's 17 to 23 inch, and these fish are just real healthy. I call them like tide runners. They're just big, chunky fish. They're good good. They're in really good shape. They're in really good numbers also, and flounder fishing's actually really picking up. We're getting some good numbers with those, above our normal average. And those definitely try like the Jets in the East Cut and up to the North Land Cut. But talking about that trout bite, like I said, out of Mansfield, it's the best I've seen. It's definitely better than last year after the freeze, but it's back to where it was 4 or 5 years ago. I've been seeing it on live bait and artificial. So live croaker has been really working right now. Through the summer months, that's what they really like to hit, if you're using some live bait. We're using a 5-aught Eagle Claw Kale hook. You can also add a chatterweight to that. If you instead of just freelining, if you're in some deeper water, or especially if you're in some current, you're fishing off the drop off the ditches, add a little chatterweight. That helps you to get down a little bit get down a little bit deeper in the water. I said the bite's been really great, really early, real early in the morning. Then it might shut off on you at 7:45, 8 o'clock or so. So get out there early, and also real late in the evening. With the calmer winds we've been having, thank God we're getting them. The King Ranch shoreline up there by the Oakmonts and stuff's been really good. They're holding that 3 to 5 foot of water around those grass beds. If the winds pick up on you, and then go ahead and head out to the east side on the breaks out there, like north of the land cut, north of the east cut out there. If you're throwing some soft plastics, we've been using an 1/8 ounce Eagle Claw jig head. And with that saltwater assassin sea shad, that magic grass is definitely the color I've been really been working really well and still in that same 3 to 5 foot of water. Got a picture of an oversized trout for down here. It was released, but caught out of Port Mansfield, Captain Mark Stussy on Real Therapy. And we're going to talk about him a little bit too. He went to flounder fishing on the same day, same time, lower coast here right out of Mansfield. He was fishing the guts on the east cut out there, and then also land cuts holding, but he was up in the east cut here. What you got to do is you got to be really patient on these fish, though. It's a great bite. It's a lot of fun, especially really good eating. We're going to like an 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce jig head with a smaller plastic, like the saltwater assassin sea shad with a little paddle tail there. You can put a fish bite strip on it, just directly onto your jig head. That'll do it good too. Then you got cast on every edge, back of the gut there, and let it drop down off that sand with a slow retrieve. When you feel that thump, just give it a little second or two, and then set the hook on them. Petey and these guys will land in too, kind of keep them in the water. That means something like keep your rod to the side, keep them tight. Don't try to lift them out of the water. They like to spit the hook a lot on there. So go ahead and slide them with your dip net, or if not, slide them up on the land if you guys are wade fishing. So we got another picture here that says like Captain Mark Stussy, Real Therapy. You've got a nice South Texas flounder there. Moving over to offshore, state water snapper fishing has been really good. But remember now, June 1, federal water opens up out deeper for the federal season. So the water's warming up, and so if you're really trying to do something different, some daytime sport fishing or nighttime out there, or low coast jetties, whether it's Port Mansfield, South Padre, everybody's been doing pretty good on the sport fish out there. Like I said, state water snapper fishing's been great. We just had a little tournament here out of Port Mansfield, the young farmers on the Bam Bam. We went out there, we had a good time. We took first place on the redfish, on the red snapper, and we're using that 10 for the combo. It's a 20 pen warfare combo with the Moy 30-pound mono. We use a spool up with it, and then we attach that to a 130-pound Moy leader. Fresh bait, as we mentioned last weekend, was really key. It gives you a lot better results out there, whether it's fresh Maidenhaven or a spot croaker we get off the boats from the marina. That stuff works excellent. Remember, June 1st, federal water opens up, 2 per person, 16 inches, and there'll be plenty out there to target. So enjoy the season there. Remember that state waters is open all year. You got a picture here with Stacy Reyes, who's never been offshore fishing at all. She jumped on the boat with us, and she landed a 13.4-pound snapper, which put her in first place there.
Good job, Bam Bam. Quickly on the swordfish.
Yep, swordfish. Man, this stuff's not an everyday event. Guys that do it, but it's great. You can go out to Colt and Oasis Dome areas. Try to pick your calmer days out there because you're going to be drifting. Use a Penn 50 to 80 wide international if you're going to hand crank, but in that 1,500 foot of water, I surely love. I got some new Penn 130 hooker electric reels, and they work phenomenal. We got them spooled up with 80-pound diamond braid. The new LSU color works great. And these fish are, got a real soft mouth, so don't put the drag real heavy on them and keep them taut, and you'll have some good stuff. I talked to Mike Quebec with Real Rush Charters out of Port A there. Got a great pick here on a swordfish. It's a pending junior electric state record, so it's a 274.6-pound swordfish that just landed.
Man, Chad, you're on fire. Way to go. You just need to get rid of me and Bree and go back to winning. Good job, Bam Bam. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats hotspots from the lower fresh region. Chad says inshore trout bite is on fire out of Port Mansfield using both lures and live bait. Better numbers of flounder are starting to show up also along the east cut and the land cut. And then offshore, red snappers. The snapper bite is getting better, so go out deeper and sometime at nighttime sword fishing.
Get rid of Bree.
That would be good.
No, get rid of
What?
me and Brie.
Look at this.
Me and
Get
Brie.
rid of me and Brie.
You will have a birthday, a very special one.
I know. How about that?
60.
Happy birthday, dear Captain Rick.
Boy,
Dave, you're
that's
making me
old.
sing by myself. Happy birthday to
I'm not 60.
you. Congratulations.
The bad part
great.
is by the time Brie turns 60, I'll be dead.
Yep,
I won't even be here for her.
exactly.
Quit coughing on my cake.
Well, are you gonna blow it out or not? You can make a wish, or 60 wishes. That's the rules, right?
That's it.
My blower's broken.
Oh, I don't think so.
It's supposed to make a noise.
There's no,
Oh,
no, these aren't.
these don't
aren't
have
the
noise.
Makers.
But you know what? We gotta do this.
There you
Always
go.
since
How
I've been
is
a
it?
little kid.
How is it?
I gotta always have it
Thanks
on.
for tuning in, guys. Happy birthday, Rick. We love you.
Thank you.
Get out there.
Thank you,
Happy
Dave.
birthday.